For some reason, people were upset with you because you did what your job entails, and that is defend the person that has hired you to be their defense attorney. Being a black man, when there's a case where a young black man was shot.
People misread what actually happened. They just read the highlight and they read the headline, and then reading the headline, the assumption was you took a case where a black person was shot in the back and that's it. And you're co-signing on young kids illegally having firearms in the community. It's okay. It's the culture. It's not okay. You would have gone into a store with a loaded firearm illegally with an empty book bag and no money to pay? Yes, sir. But we try so hard to win, we forget our job is about justice.
Yes.
And the problem is and I'm the one getting beat on. I'm the one getting the death threats.
I got to tell you guys about Verdict Bourbon. You know, it's a bourbon that's smooth, it's full of character, absolutely incredible. We've had people try it, review it, and the feedback has been incredibly amazing. So if you go with Not Guilty, you have the smooth sweetness that people love, and Guilty brings the bold, classic bourbon character. So all you got to do is go to verdictbourbon.com, and you got to plead your age, face the verdict, and find out if you're guilty or not guilty. You must be 21 and over, and make sure you drink responsibly. Don't be a dummy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I had to get this gentleman on to the show. Shaun Kent, you guys may have recognized him from the Rick Chow case where the store owner shot a young man who had allegedly he's not allegedly anymore. He was found not guilty, so he pulled a gun on Rick Chow's son, and then there was a fire exchange, and the young man lost his life. People were outraged, but the defense attorney, who did, in my opinion, an incredible job articulating why Mr. Chow was not guilty, has gotten a lot of backlash. And I don't know why he got backlash, because he did his job, and I guess they mad because he's a black man doing his job, and just so happened it was in a case where a young black man was shot. But anyway, I want to introduce this gentleman to the show. He's South Carolina's criminal defense attorney, over 25 years of experience, and I would say probably one of the most epic defense attorneys that I've ever seen. And so I want to bring him to the show. Hey, welcome to the show, Shaun Kent.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, so let's get into a few things. I know that you've gotten an incredible amount of backlash because of your case. I want to talk about that, and then I want to hear your opinions on the verdict that was rolled out in the Carmelo Anthony case. But let's start with your case first. You know, for some reason, people were upset with you because you did what your job entails, and that is defend the person that has hired you to be their defense attorney, and you did it very well. You were very articulate. You pointed out obvious, clear signs to create reasonable doubt. I don't think it was that difficult of a case, you know, when it comes down to the facts and circumstances. But you got a lot of backlash, and I think the backlash wasn't necessarily your performance. The backlash is because your performance, being a black man, when there's a case where a young black man was shot. So can you explain, you know, how all of this has transpired for you since that case concluded?
Yeah, great questions. First of all, appreciate you guys having me. Great questions. The backlash has been epic, would be an understatement. I think the biggest thing we got, which was wild to me, is people were just so upset, and people misread what actually happened. They just read the highlight and they read the headline, and then reading the headline, the assumption was you took a case where a black person was shot in the back and that's it. And it's kind of wild that people just make the assumption that I was just sitting in my office. I was, "Ooh, you executed. I want that case. Let's do this." Like, people just made this crazy assumption without hearing all the details. And so what ended up happening when we first took the case, and just give you a little background, when we first took the case, we received a phone call from some lawyers up in Columbia. And I think the family was trying to find really, really good trial lawyers. And they called these lawyers, and the Chow family said, "Who is the best trial lawyer in South Carolina?" Now, the lawyers, of course, are just like, "Well, you need to call Shaun Kent if you can get him." They, of course, knew I was black. Let's not fool ourselves.
Yeah.
That lawyer got fired. They then hired a second set of lawyers, and they asked them the same question. Who is the best trial lawyer in South Carolina? Unknown to them, they also said, "You should call Shaun Kent." Now, they also knew I was black, but the client did. So then, Brandon, I went to go talk to the client, and I walked in, sat down with Mr. Chow. He was incarcerated. First words out of his mouth, "God is my witness." He looks at me and goes, "You're black." And I said, "You're Asian." Because he didn't know. He had no damn clue. And what I liked about it is he just wanted whoever was the best lawyer. Now, let's not fool ourselves. The other lawyers are just like, hey, this is a black lawyer. Let's try to get him. Chow had no damn clue.
Yeah.
So then the next step was I looked him in his face and I said, you have got 30 seconds. Tell me what happened. I was like, I don't want to hear all the bullshit. I don't want to hear anything. 30 seconds, tell me. And I do that with every client.
Yeah.
The 30 seconds he told me was our entire case throughout. He said,
Wow.
wait, and that was our case. That first 30 seconds was the entire case. I was like, tell me what happened. And he said, Shaun, this young man pointed a gun at my son. I thought he was going to kill him. I told him to drop the gun, and I shot him. That was the case. Like, literally, that's what he told me in 30. So everyone's like, oh, this is right. I'm like, 30 seconds, he told me that. And I told him, the funny part is I said, stop there. Our first meeting together, me and Rick Chow, probably took 15 minutes. Like, I didn't spend time with him very long. I said, stop there. I'll be back. I went and grabbed the discovery from the lawyers, the evidence of what the case was. And they said, do you want to see the evidence? I said, nope. I want to hear the 911 calls. I want to see the body cam. As you know, the body cam and the 911, they tell me everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see if the story he told me was consistent. Spot on. First thing he told law enforcement, thing that was said in 911. Then I went and met with the medical examiner. And when I met with the medical examiner, I didn't ask her if it was 100%. I said, this is the story they're telling me. Is it possible? She's like, yes. I said, all right. Called the family up, said, here's the fee, stroke the check, let's do this. And that's how we got on the case.
That's very interesting because, me being in law enforcement, I'm on one side of it, right? I mean, we do the arrest, we develop the probable cause, we make sure we get as much evidence as possible to present to our detectives,
Right.
the detectives, to the prosecution or whatever the case may be. And but we don't get a chance to go and dig into some of these other nuances, right?
Yeah.
We don't get a chance to, like the defense attorney do. We as police officers, we're our hands are clean until they need to call
you
us
do the
as a
case
witness.
and you bounce. Like,
Right.
there's
So
the arrest, move on.
It's interesting hearing from a defense attorney or attorney in general, kind of the things that they're looking for. Now, what if Mr. Chow told you that a story that was inconsistent with the body camera? Like, what do you do in those situations? Because they hire you to do a job, you have to do a job.
I love that question because people get it so twisted. They're like, oh, you guys going to lie. One, I'll lose my damn bar license if I lie, and there ain't not a damn client in the world who's worth lying for. I'm not going to do it. And so I always tell people, and I charge a significant amount of money, and I tell them, if you're going to lie to me, what's the point of me paying this information? Like, why lie to me if you're paying me all this money to help you? And two, I'm not going to take money if I can't help you. And so one of the reasons I always like at the beginning is because when I got involved in this case later than everybody else, and they bring me in for a trial, and I said, look, it is not, and I know I don't want to mess myself up. It is not realistically what happened. It's what the evidence can show.
Right.
And so what I wanted to make sure is that he actually had a triable case based upon the evidence, because I'm not taking money if I can't help him. So let's say for argument's sake, I go and look at the medical examiner. The medical examiner says, that is impossible. No matter what he is telling you, that shot came straight from the back from a direct. That's a different angle. I'm like, look, that can't happen. What people don't realize, I was going to draw a little picture, but what people don't realize is the shot, Brandon, came from right to left, slightly upward, back to front. And why that's important is everybody's saying back. It's really a flank shot. As you know the difference. So there's a difference between a back and there's a difference between a flank. And medical examiners are usually reluctant to say back because it has such a bad connotation. It's really a flank shot. And we talked about it. So for people looking, the shot is going from right to left, which would support the human body turning slightly this way. And if there's one person in the front, someone behind them, and somebody facing this way, it would support a right to left shot. And so Rick Chow's, whether people like it or not, his accounting of what happened on the 911 call, the body cam, and to me, all supported what the evidence will say.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear that, but it supports the evidence. And yeah, I think I'm a pretty damn good trial lawyer, but I'm only as good as what the evidence is going to show. If I'm sitting up there lying and I look like a liar, the jury's going to convict me. And so it was supported by the evidence, whether people agree with me or not.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. What are other things that you've seen out in the media that's just being flat out lies with this case? Because
Oh,
I take I think that in my next life I want to be a lawyer, man. I really admire lawyers. I love arguing, and I feel like I'm especially when the truth is on my side. I also
yeah.
did I was an expert witness in a civil case with some police officers, and because I argue for a living and I do podcasting and stuff, and I was a police officer, I absolutely dominated. I'm one of the major reasons why they ended up winning that civil lawsuit because of the way I presented my answers to the,
Right.
keeping a calm demeanor. The jury was very convinced, but the truth was on our side. But with that being said, so I'm always, when these cases come up, and I used to watch court TV all the time. I love this stuff. When these cases come
Yeah.
up, I look at the probable cause statement, I look at some of the evidence, and I'm able to be almost 100% accurate on all of these cases. But what are some of the things that the public did not get right or may not have known about this case that landed, and you said a small amount of it in part, that landed this to a pretty sure verdict versus what people may have expected it to be more complicated? It seemed to be straightforward. He did what he
It,
did.
it,
He ran, he was shot. That seems simple, but what are some of the things that people may have missed or they may have gotten wrong in the media that that most people don't?
there's three things that I think that everybody has run with and gone crazy. The one was the big one that I just told you about, just shot in the back. There's a difference that we talk about from flank and back, and the angle was so important, which supported what Rick and Andy said. Whether you disagree or not, it was supported by what they said. Number two, the number one thing I'm hearing is that, well, that boy didn't have a gun, or nobody saw him with a gun inside of his hand. I'm hearing that. You would be shocked how much I'm hearing. Like, there's no evidence he didn't have a gun. The witnesses never saw a gun. I don't care what a witness says when they found a gun with his DNA and fingerprints on the scene. Um, and so we're hearing a lot that eyewitnesses did not see him with a gun. One of the biggest mistakes, and these prosecutors are my dearest friends. I've known the head prosecutor for damn 30 years. He is as good of a brother as there is. He's a great human being. But one of their big mistakes where they put certain witnesses on the stand and their statements were so inconsistent from their 911 calls. So what ended up happening is these brothers and sisters called 911 on the night. And for people who don't know, and Brandon, 911, I think you're going to get the most accurate, what someone believes right then and there, because they don't have time to make up a lie. So all of the witnesses, and I mean all of them, every single witness the state put on the stand on 911, the 911 operator says, "Did you see it?" They're like, "No, I didn't see what happened. I came up afterwards," or "I didn't see it," or all of them consistently said they didn't see it. Then on the stand, it's just like, "Well, I saw it." And what happens is social media, public perception, the human brain starts working, and they think they have seen it. And two, Black communities, Black folks want to help this young man out, and they want to be the hero for the community, and they want to say, "I saw a murder, I saw it," and they're with their girlfriends, they're with their friends, and they're like, "Everybody believes us, we saw it." And what bothered me is, everyone's mad at me, but what bothers me is the state, no matter what state you are, should never hide evidence.
Right.
They should tell the entire story. The state went out of their way not to play those 911. You saw it. They did not play their 911.
I saw you bring it up, and I said, "Oh man, they're gonna take a loss."
It was you cannot. They didn't play the 911. They didn't play the body cameras because all the 911s would have shown the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And strategy-wise, people are like, "Why didn't you play them?" And I said, "Because I knew I wanted to choke them on the closing argument, because I wanted the jury to be like, I wonder what was in the 911 calls and why they didn't play them." And sorry if I'm talking too much. I get excited about legal.
I love it, man. I love this stuff.
And then number two, if you watch, I think if you were to ask me what cost them this case, at one point in time, they put on a body cam of Rick Chow. And one of the officers walk up to Rick Chow, and this is so important. They walk up to Rick Chow and they ask him what happened. So Rick Chow is talking to one officer, and you know how body cams work. So there's two officers sitting right there talking to him at the same time. Officer one, "Tell me what happened." Rick Chow says, "I was what I told you." And he said it. "We chased this kid out of the store. We thought he had stolen something. We were following him. he ends up picking up, or my son Andy said, help, he saw a gun. And then he says, I didn't see the gun initially. Now, when he said initially, the officer walked away, okay? And another officer was sitting there. That's the only, the prosecution put in that body cam and stopped. Then they asked the officer, did he ever tell you that he had pointed a gun or he saw a gun pointed? And that officer said, no, he never said that to me. And they stopped. Well, the problem is the second half of that video from the officer's camera went, I did not see a gun initially. However, when I looked up again, I saw him pointing a gun at and he tells the rest of the story. The prosecution didn't put in the rest of that video on purpose. I had to call the other cop all the way from like 3 hours away, put him on the stand and play the rest of it. If you would have seen that jury's face.
Oh my.
And so for people who are saying, Brandon, we had 5 black folks on the jury, 2 minorities. So there were 7 minorities on the jury. And if you know black folks, they can't stand someone trying to run a trick. There was one sister on the jury, when we put the rest of it, she said, like, because I think people just assume there's just like, Mr. Chow didn't deserve a good defense, but those are stupid people because if they're going to do it to him, they're going to do it to yo down the road. And so you want to challenge the state, and you're a cop, you want to challenge them to make sure they do it right. There are good cops, there are bad cops, there are good lawyers, there are bad lawyers, and you want to whoop a bad cop's ass the same way you want to celebrate a good cop. Yep. And so to me, sorry to be long-winded, that one thing right there, that little hiding the evidence, because we talked to some of the jury, and nobody knows that until I'm telling you this right now, but we talked to some of the jury, and they were pissed that the state was hiding evidence.
Yeah, that was a killer for them when you did your closing arguments and stuff like that, and you were like, why did they leave this out? And to me, I was like, the fact that they left it out is so clear. And then they had some people that they brought to the stand that you cross-examined. I think one of them was a detective, and I think you had asked him a question of,
God rest his soul, because he died on that stand.
Because see, I was shocked that he said what he said. I think it was you because you were off camera. But
I know exactly what it is. But
you had mentioned, you were like, "Is this normal? Is this okay? Like, would you do this?" And he was like, "Yeah." What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're presenting to a jury that you would illegally carry a firearm into the store as a 14-year-old boy, and that stealing or whatever he was doing with Waters and running is all normal, based on like where you come from. And it was another witness that did the same thing, and he was trying to save face for the kid, I think, and he was like, yeah, it depends. Like you go in the store without money, or you said a gun to the one guy.
Oh, I'll tell you. I said, would you go and do you find it normal? And so let's back up. So what the question was to us is we thought, and mind you, we had a lot of stuff we could have hurt that young man on and didn't want to do it. I didn't want to turn the case into he was a bad kid. I didn't want to. But I wanted the jury to understand the following, because everybody was trying to make the case about he stole a bottle of water.
Right.
And he didn't. To us, the case wasn't about stealing the bottle of water. The case was about he was in there acting suspicious. And whether you like it or not, and I know Mama looked like menace to the society watching his ass. You buy. She was watching him.
Yes.
But he was suspicious. And anyone who owns a store, anyone who's been in law enforcement, and the reason he was suspicious is less than 24 hours earlier, he's pointing a damn tech at a screen with a laser on it.
Yeah.
He goes into the store with an empty book bag, no money, no ability to pay, no cell phone to pay. He has a gun with a bullet in the chamber, and he's walking into the store. And when I asked this officer, in the course of your investigation, would you not look into a shoplifting or something to say something looks suspicious? And that's when he says, no, there's nothing suspicious. I would have done that. I'm like,
yeah. What?
You would have gone into a store with a loaded firearm illegally with an empty book bag and no money to pay? Yes, sir. But we try so hard to win, we forget our job is about justice.
Yes.
And the problem is and I'm the one getting beat on. I'm the one getting the death threats. And I'm the Uncle Tom. I'm like, aren't you more worried that a cop is willing to get on the stand and throw his character away just to get a conviction because social media wants it, as opposed to we just want the demand for justice?
Yeah, if the roles were reversed, man, and it was a Chinese kid that was shot by a black man, people would be outraged that the
Absolutely.
prosecution would bring a witness or a law enforcement officer would flat out lie and be deceptive and dishonest. Like when he said that, I was like, there's no way the jury is not believing that he lost all his credibility. This is a law enforcement officer who's
And a
saying that
good
it's
one.
okay to commit a crime.
He is I'm going to tell you, good cop, good guy, good human. I've talked to him since. Now, on the stand.
Why did he do that? Was he trying to save face, or did he? What was he thinking? Like he could you had him in a trap. It wasn't even a real trap. It was like he
It
could have
wasn't even
just
a good
said
one.
that.
It wasn't like some Wile E. Coyote like advanced trap. Like it was just
He could have just said, no, I would not do that, but that does not necessarily mean they knew this at the time that the incident happened. But this is not right to do. I would not do this. He should follow the law. He could say all that, and his credibility is there. His argument was that, but they didn't know it at the time. And I thought that was a good rebuttal. But dude, when you just flat out act like a criminal activity as a law enforcement officer is totally normal, it was gone for it was over for him.
But if you watch the case, you also saw, you called it. They did 2 witnesses, him and the other one. And you remember they kept trying to make it normal for young black men to have guns in our community. I was so offended as a human that you are indulging as the lead prosecution in the state of South Carolina, that you are telling our world, and this case is being watched nationally, and you're co-signing on young kids illegally having firearms in the community. It's okay. It's the culture.
Yeah. The one guy
that it's not okay.
Yeah, I think he was a witness. He wasn't the law enforcement guy. It was the other black kid that was a witness, and he was like, "Well, it depends who you are. Like, it depends." It's like, why would you need a illegal gun on it? Well, it depends on like where you come from. And I was like, credibility gone. He lost that.
So do I think the state did a good job? No, I think what they did, and if you've prepared for trials before, you know what happens. They sat down with their prosecution team, and I don't know this for a fact, but my assumption is we're trying this case. We're trying it against Shaun. What are we going to do? We have to address this gun. You know what? That gun is an issue. That gun is a problem. And rather than address it and tell the truth, they tried to dress it up as in something it wasn't. And if they just would have gone out, like you said, and owned it, you know what? The idiot had a gun.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he deserved the blank. You know, that's a different way to try it. So as much as I believe, and I still believe our story is clear cut, that 30 seconds that I told you, I still think they hurt themselves from trying to hide from it. So I think the jury was thinking 2 things. They're like, we can't trust a word you're saying because you're lying about the little things. And if you're going to lie about the little things, how do we not know you're lying about the big things?
Yeah, 1,000%. I want to do 2 things real quick before we wrap. You have a little bit of time?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Unless I'm boring, you kick me off.
Oh, yeah, no, I love it, man. I've been wanting to talk to ever since I saw your closing arguments. I was like, I got to meet this guy and talk to him because you did. Like, I live for this stuff, man. I love people that do their job right, and they do a really good job, and they take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? You prepared well. You had a closing argument that was good. It was animated. You addressed the jury. You had all your points, man. It was a masterclass. And so 2 things. I want to address the backlash that you got in just a little bit, and then I want to hear your thoughts on the Carmelo Anthony case.
Absolutely.
Both sides of it, because obviously, you know, I think you can speak to both sides of the presentation from the defense and the prosecution. But how's the backlash been, man? I mean, I saw some of the stuff on your post, and I saw you address it, and it seems like the black community, quote unquote, because it's not all black people. Like, same black people look at you and be like, man, you did a good job. You did your job, man. That kid was wrong. But like, what's the other side like, you know, the backlash that you're getting?
Right. The wild part about it is, and like, you know, people are worried, and there have been some serious threats. Like, we've had to get the FBI involved. We've had to get SLED involved. So they have been serious. This isn't just some joking threats. But the wild part about it is, of all the threats, the one thing I'm not hearing is you're a lawyer.
Right.
Which is cool. You know, I'm hearing a lot of, you coon, stupid son of a gun. You may have done a good job, but you're going to burn in hell. I'm like, okay. And then you're hearing a lot. I mean, you're just hearing some really wild comments like, oh, you may be good, but all money ain't good money. And my response is always, try it. But you know, when they talk about the family or go to the family, I always think that's a little bit far. I always think like this is the game I chose. You want to come at me, come at me. But you would be shocked that since the Carmelo Anthony trial has ended, the backlash is starting to switch.
Yeah.
And my social media has got a lot more of, we may hate you, you coon trader, but please go help that poor boy Carmelo. And two, one of the things that I can't, and I mentioned this, Carmelo is a young black man accused of stealing a white child over in Texas. And he hired a white lawyer, and nobody's jumping up and down on him.
Right.
You know, nobody has said word about how dare he hire a white lawyer, because as a community, we're fine. It's like, yeah, he had to get the best. He had to get a white lawyer, but Chow can't get the best because I'm black. I have to be an Uncle Tom or a token or so forth. But
and his family raised a lot of money for his defense, and I think they had I think they had this could be a rumor that's not accurate, but I saw it online that said that they had a public defender at first. I mean,
and I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because I heard they had a public defender at first, and then something else happened, and then that guy who's the liaison for the family, he did not help them publicly whatsoever. I don't know if you know the guy's name.
Yeah,
He didn't help them, man, because he's not an attorney, and some of the things that he said out in public was it made the family look bad. You know, like, and when they kicked the other dad out, like when they kicked Austin Metcalf's dad out of that memorial meeting or something like that, I think it was a bad look because, you know, his son is the victim of this case, and they're being very punitive towards him. Even if you wanted to, you should give the appearance that Carmelo is not. I mean, yeah, Carmelo is not a bad kid, and his family is not punitive, and he's just a young kid that made a mistake, and we welcome reunification because both of our kids lost a lot. But they didn't do that. They wanted to make it about race, and so this white man, how dare you come here, and like as if he was wrong. His son was a victim of this case, so I think their PR was a nightmare.
You have got to. You know, we have a little phrase, we say it's always be closing. And what we use it for is you're always working on the end no matter what. And that family at sentencing, that sentence could have been way different if that family of daddy was just like, you know what, this is a sweet family. This is a sweet young man. They could have calmed down. So attacking and doing stuff like that, I don't think it does any good whatsoever.
Do you think that was the right verdict?
What a great question. I don't think so. I think realistically, and now probably a better response is, could I see and understand the verdict? Absolutely.
Right.
Like, I can see it. I can understand it. Texas law, the way that they understand an injury that could cause death, I get it. Things that bother me, and again, nobody watched the trial. We read it and read about it.
Yeah, they didn't.
A couple of things they didn't publicly. Him not testifying, Brandon, is weird to me. You understand? Yeah. Like in a self-defense case where I come from, and I've tried a bunch of cases, he is a young kid who is supposedly very smart, very articulate, good-looking kid, small in stature.
Yes.
My two issues with watching that trial, again, he killed a man. This is not a whodunit. He did it. He took a human life. This is Texas. And, you know, they will forgive a lot of stuff in Texas for killing another human. But you need to look him in the eye and explain, why did you feel you had to do it? Why do you have a knife? You know, answer the question no one wants to think of. Bruh, why you got a knife in your bag?
Right.
I've never heard an answer to that question. Like, I'm like, bro, why you got a knife? Get on the stand and tell people, look, I've been bullied. I've been threatened. I am scared. Something to humanize yourself. And I don't understand. And I did a post about it earlier, Brandon. I guess sometimes, the reason we don't put people on the stands, people ask me, like, why don't you put your client on the stand? One, if I can get their story out without them subject to cross-examination, I'm going to get in. Rick Chow is a perfect example. Remember, I told you that statement. We got Rick Chow's statement out, and he didn't have to testify. I know Rick has very broken English.
Yes.
And so I'm like, Rick, and he was offended. He's just like, I want to testify. I'm like, you would be a witness. Why? Because you have trouble with the letter R. Like, I was like,
that's true. It's true. I think his son, was it his son that testified?
It was his son.
It wasn't good. Because his English wasn't as good, he seemed to be hesitant on the responses, which made his credibility look bad. Even though he wasn't hesitant, it's just that he probably trying to think through the English way to articulate this, and it did not look good for him. And I was like, God dang! I mean, if his
Here's
story
what's
wasn't a
funny.
story, this would look bad for him.
Here's what's funny about that. Like, I love the fact, because this is the things that I go into strategy. We played his body cam and 911 tapes. So people were asking, well, why were you playing his body cam and 911 tapes? Exactly what you said. I'm like, he does not come across it. He thinks his way through and so I was like, I want to play his 911 so people see this is his demeanor. You know, that's how we think. I'm like, play it so the jury can be like, well, that's just how he is.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. And so that's one of the reasons, like, there was that question about, do you put Rick on? In Carmelo's case, you got to put that kid on.
Yes.
You got to put a young brother on the stand to look directly at that jury and at the very minimum, apologize to the family. You know, I took your son's life.
I think if he had done that, he wouldn't have got 30 plus years in prison. Like,
no!
And I think they may have been reasonable. I think his testimony could have gotten him to the jury. I think the judge gave the jury instructions that they could do manslaughter. And I think if he got on there and they saw him and if he cried or he was remorseful and he said, why do you have a knife? I forgot the knife in my bag. I didn't know it was in my bag, or something to make you feel like I didn't intentionally bring this knife to the thing looking for trouble. Or if he said, I was intimidated. I've been beat up many times. He cries on the stand. These guys were hovering over me. I didn't want to do it. I was shaky. I was scared. It was impulsive. I didn't even, after I'd done it, I didn't realize what I did. I didn't know. I was asking about it. I was checking on him. You know, the cross-examination would have been tough for him if they didn't prepare him well.
You prepare him, you work him, he's a kid. You said, so when you ask me, do I think it's the right verdict? Based upon what the jury understood, I see it, but you just hit the nail on the head. If he testifies and all the message coming out, Carmelo was sufficiently emotional, he was apologetic, he was this, does he get 35? Does the judge hear him and say, this kid doesn't deserve 35 years? Ladies and gentlemen, and the jury comes, and the jury's like, God, he doesn't deserve it. But they never heard from him.
Because I think he may have looked like
I don't know why.
I think he may have looked like a criminal to them, right? I mean, even though his stature is there, all the testimony made him look bad, you know, because they're saying that Austin Metcalf said, I'm not going to fight you. And he's like, and the witnesses are saying, black witnesses are saying, he initiated. He was the aggressor. He said, I'm not doing nothing. Y'all make me move. And like when I hear their testimony, I hear a voice in my mind of what he may have sound like. If he took the stand and he's got like a soft voice and he's very like, kind of like shaky voice, you won't hear a kid saying, do something then. Y'all make me move.
Yeah, square up. What?
You could have asked him on the stand, what did you say? And he could have been like, I said, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I'm not moving. I don't want to move. And he sound really wimpish, you know what I'm saying? And the jury may be like, this kid is not like a thug that you would imagine that he was stabbing a kid in the heart with no remorse. And so I think that's what really killed him.
And I don't know, maybe he's got a criminal record we don't know about, and maybe they didn't want to put him on the stand because of his criminal record. So I don't want to attack the lawyer, but to me, it's easy to say, you need it. He got 35 years. How much worse could he have been if he got 35 years by not testifying? I would have. And we prepared, I'll tell you, we prepared Rick to testify. Every single day, we worked on him for about a month, getting him ready to testify. And we decided at the end, because we got his story in. I'm like, look, your story is in. The jury's heard it. They've heard your son's story. Remember, we said 30 seconds. If I thought, the real reason we chose not him to testify, I don't know if you saw the very, very, very last witness we put on was the EMT who came on scene.
I didn't see it.
And I'm going to tell you why we chose not to testify. We found her at the very end. She was an EMT, and I was talking to her. And she came on scene, and she said, I came on scene. I was the first person on scene. Rick and his son were sitting over the boy. They were doing chest compressions, trying to save his life. She said, I came and I put a tourniquet on him, but it didn't work because you can't tourniquet the flank, the torso. So I was doing chest compressions, and Rick was doing mouth to mouth.
Wow.
While I was doing this. It gets better and nastier. So you need to go back and watch this testimony, because this is, if someone's like, why didn't Rick testify? It's this 30-second question right here. I said, well, what did Rick do next? She's like, well, when I was doing mouth to mouth, the boy started to vomit, because if you know when stuff is, a vomit comes out. Rick was doing mouth to mouth. He got the vomit in his mouth, spit it out, went back and did mouth to mouth again. He threw up again, spit it out, and went back. First of all, I ain't doing that shit. Second of all, don't forget the definition of murder in South Carolina is the intent to kill another human being with malice aforethought. When you have the image of a man who says, look, the only reason I shot him is I thought he was going to kill my son, but after I shot him, I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
That's, you understand? And that's so that was the last image we put in the jury's mind is him sucking vomit out of a little boy's mouth. This super racist Rick Chow, everybody hates him. He's sucking human vomit, spitting it out, going back to do mouth to mouth. He vomited in his mouth again. And the woman who testified to this was an independent witness, doesn't know Rick, doesn't know family, pulled up on the scene, happened to be an EMT. And I asked her, I was like, what did you think? And she said, it was gross. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh my God.
I said, so if you get a chance, anybody out there, watch that last witness. That's the reason Rick didn't testify, because to me, I was able to get his emotions out without him saying a word.
Yeah, that's because he probably couldn't articulate it as good as she explained
No.
it.
I mean, he would tell me that same, I'm telling you, he would tell me the exact same thing. So I knew it was true. And he was just like, he would say, yeah, I would do mouth to mouth and stuff would get, and kept doing it. But he would never be able, because of the language barrier. And it's not that bad of a language barrier because the guy is very intelligent he's been here forever. But if you've ever talked to anyone who's been in America forever with a language barrier, he still has broken English, and it would not have come across as genuine as this lady who didn't know him. That's why he didn't testify. So that's different than Carmelo. I would have put Carmelo on the stand because I didn't read anybody said anything good about him. Did you? I didn't see one good thing said about him.
I don't think they tried to defend him, but they didn't say anything good about him. And unfortunately, maybe he was worse than what people think he was. You know, you see him with the gun on the camera, on the social media. His parents made him sound a lot better, but my goodness, everybody at the track meet that was witnessing, even the kids that are black, and you know this just as well as anybody else, sometimes black people can be biased towards their own people. So
we are so biased to our own people.
Right, for them to openly say, and then the defense brought a witness on that also said Carmelo was guilty. That he was wrong. He was in the wrong. He initiated it. I said, he's going to be found guilty no matter what. Not saying no matter what, but this is damning. When the defense bring on a witness that says that their client is wrong.
And it might be, you hit the nail on the head. I talked about it. Maybe he wasn't a good kid.
Yeah, because he was worse.
Maybe they couldn't put him on the stand. Again, I'm not attacking Cyrus. I'm not. But if you watch our trial, and I'm not going to tell people what we know, you notice they didn't put a lot of stuff of his good character into evidence and talk about how a sweetheart he was and how he was taking care of the church and doing all these other situations. And the only reason you don't put in good character is it allows the other side to put in bad character.
Right.
Just saying. So common sense wise, sometimes people need to think about stuff like that. And I said it. I was surprised that this boy did this. He didn't testify, but maybe there's a reason he couldn't. I don't know, but sometimes we have to think about that.
Well, man, I'm glad, Shaun, I was able to talk to you, man. I feel like I want you to be a regular. If you're open to it.
You can call me anytime. If I make it through next week, I'm a coon and all. So
I know you take one more. You take one more of these cases, man. They're gonna be out to get you, man. But no,
what?
I appreciate you.
Guess what? I would do it. I would do it again because this is my job. It's the same way. I want to leave with two things. One, law enforcement don't pick and choose who to arrest. You don't sit around and say, I can't arrest you because you're black or I can't arrest you because you're white. You violated the law. I'm going to arrest you. And two, one of the coolest things I thought from this trial, Brandon, is Rick Chow, Asian, of course, as everybody knows. When we were picking the jury for Rick, he looked up and I was like, what's wrong with you? And he just looked and he's just like, this is my jury panel. Now, there was not a single Asian in the jury panel, not one. No Asians ended up on his jury. His judge wasn't an Asian. The prosecutor and his defense team were Asian and black. We're all Asian and black. People watching the room were all white and black. The people in the crowd who hated him were white and black. And I realized, because he's like, there's no Asians anywhere, I started to realize he's going through what brothers went through in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And he was convinced he was not going to get a fair trial. So I'm beyond excited that, even though there is some racism, even though people are being crazy to me, Rick Chow got a fair trial no matter what anybody says. Y'all can say what you want. He got a fair trial. And I like that we've gotten that far in America.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you said that, because that does help with the sense of humanity being reasonable, because everybody often thinks that this country is so racist and you'll never get it, because this is a crazy experiment, man. Like our
It
court
really
system is
is.
a crazy experience. Your peers, random people with no knowledge of law and nothing, and they have to make decisions
Go
like
solve
this.
this murder, fam. We'll be right back. Like,
I mean, some people are formally educated, some people are not as educated. I mean, you got really random people choosing your fate, and you know, the emotionalism of the average person can be very dynamic. You know, some people can get emotional and say, I can't see myself convicting, even after jury selection, I can't see myself convicting a 17-year-old kid. And then you give a hung jury, or you have, you know, deliberation that takes way longer because you got one holdout. And the fact that as the United States of America can continue to function in this system, and people, for the most part, get a fair trial, is absolutely amazing. But I want to give people an opportunity to follow you. Where can they go follow you? What's your social media handles? How can they communicate with you if they do need legal support?
I always tell people three things. If you communicate with me and nice, I'll respond, as you know. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm not smart enough to figure out how this thing works. So the biggest one is we've got our TikTok. It's at Kent Law Firm, KENTLAWFIRM, Kent Law Firm. It's the same thing on Instagram. Those are my only two social media platforms. And if you go on those, believe it or not, my cell phone number's on it. Trust me, people have found my cell phone.
I know, I saw that. I was like, is he gonna take that cell phone off, or that goes to somewhere else?
Nope. This is my personal cell phone. I'm not going to change for anybody. This is who I am. And one of the things I like about, like, clients call me. They call me all hours of the night. I'll talk to them. If somebody's got an issue, I'll talk to them. People don't like me. They don't like me. I'm not going to change.
Yeah,
you know?
I love that.
And trust me, if threats are coming, y'all can't get more than what I've had the last week. And somebody's going to be like, watch this.
But I think
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That's how you get me. I'm not going to change. That's how you get me.
Well, God bless you, Shaun, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you back soon. I appreciate you.
You want anything, you call me anytime, my friend. I appreciate you. Appreciate your team reaching out.
All right, appreciate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys enjoyed that interview. Make sure you like and subscribe, and go follow Shaun, man. He's a great guy.